The way I understand what's going to happen here, I'm going to offer some thoughts, some observations, and then Miri will, and then we'll just sit down and talk with each other, talk with you. So everything I say will just be just a beginning of a thought. Okay? Gil, thank you very much for that. And it was very, very challenging. First of all, the Colin, the great writer, what was his name? The 17-year-old that run. You didn't mention his name. Not because Gil, you're a mensch. Yeah, you really are. But I'll rip him apart, but I won't. And so, I want to answer you the way your challenge, and to ask, what can Israel do for you? And I'd like to think about that out loud tonight. But beforehand, I want to think about what you can do for Israel. And what the conversation between Israeli Jews and diaspora Jews, why is it that I believe that the future of Israel depends on this vibrant, exciting conversation that doesn't really exist yet? In the 19th century, turn into the 20th century, there's a great, great theologian, important philosopher called Franz Rosenzweig. And he offered one of the most important and convincing critiques of Zionism. And it's a very surprising critique. He offers the following argument. He says, what makes Jews unique, what always made Jews unique, was that they always sustained the highest moral standards from two different aspects. One, always, throughout history, when there was a battle for liberty, equality, and justice, you always found Jews out there in the front lines fighting. But furthermore, when you dive into their communities, into their autonomies, which the Jewish community in the diaspora until the 19th century was autonomies, you always find them maintaining the highest moral standards. Rosenzweig asks, why is it? What is the secret of the ethics of the Jews? And one of his answers are, the Jews are so ethical because they are not powerful. Power corrupts, and complete power corrupts. No, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Well, if power corrupts, then Zionism corrupts. Because what is Zionism if not Jews obtaining power? That's what Zionism is ultimately about. And Rosenzweig says that Zionism will destroy everything that made us unique. That was his rejection of Zionism. And here's a question. 63 years later, 64 years later, can we look at Rosenzweig and say, after this great experiment, was he right or was he wrong? Did the power corrupt us or did it not? Was Rosenzweig right? Now, even if someone had come up with the following argument that there's a Jewish problem out there, we have to solve the problem and we have to sacrifice our ethics to do it, that might be an answer, but it's not a very exciting answer. Saying that Zionism is not a good solution, but when you compare it to other alternatives, it's the best solution we have, that's not a very exciting answer. But actually, I don't think we have an answer for Franz Rosenzweig yet. I want to offer a following metaphor the way I come to understand Zionism in the beginning of a conversation about Zionism in the 21st century. In Ein Prat, I like to ask my students that are young Israelis, they're like 23-ish. They have an idealistic spark in their eyes. Israel is great. Everything is possible. I like to ask them, who here wants to run for politics, for public office? And you know, the sad thing is that not many people raise their hand. But that one person, he or she, that has the guts to say, I want to run for politics, so cynical me, I like to challenge them. And they say, I want to run into politics. I always get this great, great, optimistic answer, because I want to reform politics. I want to make a difference. And right before the Yes We Can speech, so I like to say, do you know that all these politicians, I also won't mention names. You're giving me a good lesson. All these, I have some names in mind, that were caught stealing and lying. All these great politicians we have in Israel, when they were 23, they also had that idealistic spark in their eyes. They also said to themselves, we'll go into politics and we will reform politics, but 20 years later we found that they didn't reform politics. Politics reformed them. Power corrupts. We told Rosenzweig, we're different. When the Jews as a nation, what is Zionism if not Jews going into politics? Jews as a nation going into world politics. That's Zionism. That's us being that idealistic kid saying we'll succeed where everybody else failed. And as a nation we go into world politics. And here's a question, did we change politics or did politics change us? Now the truth is, I think we don't have an answer yet. And I think the reason why we don't have an answer is because it's not intellectual anymore. The galut is over. We don't have to think about an answer. It is our challenge to be that answer. Zionism today, the way I understand it, is proving that Franz Rosenzweig was wrong, not intellectually, but historically, to become that answer. But then you ask yourself, okay, now the best answer I ever got from students of mine, what's your ethical guarantee? How do you know that you're different than these politicians? How do you know that you are different? Well, the most convincing answer that I've heard is the following answer. They've told me many times that my friends, the people who remember who I was before I went into politics, they are my ethical guarantee. They're going to immune me from not forgetting my dream, not forgetting who I wanted to be. Because as long as they will stay my friends, every time they look at me, I'll remember what I wanted to be. In a deep sense, in a very deep sense. It's a conversations between us here and Jews of the diaspora that in your eyes and in this conversation, we remember that we're supposed to be different. We remember that we had made a promise. We made a promise that we're going into world politics and we're going to change politics. Politics is not going to change us. This sounds extremely, extremely like the Golemites, me and my friends. And you know, a very powerful memory I have that I want to share with you because I think it's a good way to begin this conversation about the future of the dialogue between Israeli Jews and diaspora Jews. Majority here are North Americans. Who's North American? Okay. Who's not North American? Okay, so there's some real Jews out there. Okay. So, no. I mean the ones from Australia. So I have a very strong memory that we were getting all these chavilot, all these packages. And did you guys send any packages? Did you? So we were getting packages, and the packages since they weren't, you sent packages. I delivered. Thanks. Because we need more chocolate chip cookies next time. Yeah, thanks. So these packages couldn't actually go into Lebanon because so where did all the packages go? They went to me. So we're sitting on a pile of chavilot, of packages, and me and my bored soldiers, what do you do for 3 weeks? We open, all your chocolate chip cookies. So we're opening, and then I remember this question that one of the soldiers asks me. We get Rishon LeZion and Yerushalayim, and more from Yerushalayim, and Tveria, and Akko, and Tzfat, and Yerushalayim. For some reason, the Yerushalayim were sending a lot of packages. And suddenly, a soldier opens a chavila, and it says, from Vermont. Ma kibalna Vermont. So we open up, and then some good stuff. New Jersey. So New Jersey, South Africa, we started getting my son asked me, why are we getting packages from New Jersey? And from Vermont, and when I looked at them, I realized that they don't get it. They didn't realize that when we are here fighting, we're really fighting, but whatever, for our country, rooting for us up there by Yitzhak, they say by Yitzhak in English, in the bleachers. That's right. That's the right word. And in the bleachers, it's not only the Israelis; the entire Jewish world is out there. They didn't get it, and in that moment, in that package from Vermont, that moment For one moment, their identity expanded. And this, I think, the tragedy of the identity of many Israelis. It's the following tragedy. The minute you imagine that your community of solidarity is the community of the Israelis, you're an Israeli. But if you can expand the community of solidarity and get people to understand that their community of solidarity does not confine in the borders of Israel, but it's the entire Jewish world, that moment, they're not Israelis anymore, they're Jews. The future of Jewish identity in Israel is dependent on this dialogue, on Israelis realizing that they're not Israelis, rabbi Jews, because this is assimilation in Israel. It's Jews turning into Israelis. The future of that is dependent on two things. One, connecting to Jewish sources for inspiration, and to the Jewish world for solidarity. And at that moment, in those packages, my soldiers were transformed. It evaporated, believe me. They went back to their homes, figuring that there's a Jewish world out there, and their identity shrinking to being Israelis again. If we want to prove Rosenzweig was wrong, us Israelis taking the Jews as a nation into world politics, we need to know that there's someone out there that believes in us, that remembers our biblical prophetic dreams to be different, that remembers a Zionist dream to create a new Jew in the following sense of being a chevrat mufet, that remembers that dream that we'd be embarrassed to look in the eyes of our friends and realize that we're not who we plan to be. In other words, the future of Zionism, the justification for Zionism, the future of Israeli identity is highly dependent on this relationship. And in this sense, I want you all to realize we are partners. We are partners. And we need to hear your voice. We have to find a way to have a very sophisticated and intelligent and loving conversation. Toda rabah.